All right. Welcome to another episode of the Blue Bloods podcast. Thank you if you're watching on YouTube right now. Go ahead and hit that subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, do the same. Leave us a rate, a review, 5-star review. We've got a very special guest with us today. It's my man, Jonathan Scott. He is a former NFL veteran, spent 10 years as a staple offensive lineman in the league, was a Texas Longhorn, and not just any Texas Longhorn. He won a national championship at the University of Texas. And I say, Jay Scott, that's pretty special to me because there's not a lot of Longhorns walking around that could say they're national champions right now. So, like, you're in a very, like, small group. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, talk to me.
So, it's definitely a pleasure, if you get a chance, check out 05 on the Longhorn Network to give you a little background of, what it was, that journey, winning that national championship. But at the end of the day, man, it was a heck of a journey, man. I got some moments, some memories that they could never be taken away from me. So I'm glad to say I'm one of the few.
Yeah.
Longhorn history. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get into that. I do want to ask though, in your opinion, national champion, UT alum, like what's going on with the Longhorns? Like I have not been shy about my opinion and my take. They're still recruiting at a high level, and we're going to talk about the recruiting classes that you were a part of and how much talent came in. But the difference from, I would say, your era to the era today is it seems like the guys that came in when you were coming in got developed, they got drafted, won Rose Bowls, won national championships. Now it's like you've got the same caliber guys coming in out of high school, but I made a joke. Arkansas basketball had more guys sign into the league than Texas football this past draft. And so that's where I'm like, what's going on in Austin? What's your opinion on it?
You know what? So I'll try to, give them a little favor, right?
Okay.
You know what I think what it is that we got to recognize that we're just in a different generation, literally. Like it's just a different generation of, athlete, just think about it. Like my dad used to always say, "Y'all, back in my day, we used to walk in the snow barefooted 15 miles every day to school." So it's that component of grit that I think that may be missing, or may it's probably not as present as it was
in your era
years ago, right?
Yeah.
But what I think it is, it's they got to find, Texas got to find their tribe. They got to find who are the ones who really want it, right? Now, I'm more than sure that there are some guys there that can play at a high level, that play at the standard that people are wanting to see. But it's got to be pulled out of them. I mean, that's the whole purpose of being a good coach. Now, I can definitely say this. Now, this is where I give Texas a little flack.
Okay.
Is I'm a pretty excellent offensive line coach. So if they want some expertise, they know how to get at me. They know exactly. So that's my little tidbit of negativity.
Okay.
But, other than that, we good.
Well, I'm splicing that. I'm blasting that one on TikTok. I hope Coach Sark sees it. I hope he sees it. So he need to tap back in with some of the alum that been there, done that.
Been there, done that, and have done it at every level. So I've coached a little bit on the pro level, collegiate level, and high school level, and played, and as management, and as coaching. So don't tell me I don't know football.
Well, and what would you and what would you say was the weakest link for that Longhorn team this past season?
Based off this is just my, like when I went to the Texas OU game last.
Sure. You don't have to call any player out, but just
no
position group or anything.
What I noticed. This is what I noticed is that there was moments when the offensive line were forced on being isolated. And there were some key things that OU did that created one-on-one matchups for offensive linemen, bringing fleet, what do you call them, dog blitzers or zone dogs, things of that nature that created mixed matches.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was they got a bead on them, right? And with that being said, it forced the team. What happens is it creates a domino effect, forces the team to get in, difficult situations, third and long situations. Now you become one dimensional. At that point, they can just kind of dial it up, depending on your defense, depending on your offense to make explosive plays. And now you become even more one dimensional when the Texas offense got to get back on the field because now it's 1st and 10, but I got to pass it because I don't have enough time left on the clock. So what happens is when you're not efficient on the small minutia, it forces you to have to get into that low percentage of the playbook. When I say that, I'm talking about the low percentage chance, third and long, second and 15, your play calling becomes limited. So therefore now, as a fan or a person, watching TV or Monday quarterback, Monday morning quarterback, they're saying, oh, they're terrible coaching. It's a little bit of everything. It's a lot that makes that cake a cake
happen. Absolutely.
So I just saw that one piece was when they got forced in situations where it caused them to get into uncomfortable passing and down and distance situations that made them one dimensional because they came out the gate. I mean, the first play of the game, touchdown.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Those are haymakers, right?
Yeah.
It's about the jabs,
right? Settling in and playing.
Settling in. So, kudos to OU on that. But to give it a positive outlook, is that I think there's been some shaking of the culture,
right?
And I think they just got to squeeze. They got to squeeze out, or sift out the people who really want to be there. And hey, and if they would like me to be a part of, Texas football, would like me to be a part of, molding the culture and getting back to that fighting and winning tradition, I'm more than willing to help. So.
Well. And I'm sure you saw the viral video. Was it the D-line coach that and a lot of people had different takes on it, but I'm going that's probably was every day back in the time frame. Well, hold on, let me say it this way. It's probably every day until the players were doing that themselves when the era you were there.
And so what happens is that's that culture. That's, these are different kids. And so as kind of an ongoing joke between me and some of my buddies, these kids are built different, and it's not necessarily a good thing,
right?
And so, you got to adjust as a, some of the kids that I coach. I'm like, Jesus, when I was in college, you weren't even born. So I'm like, a lot of these kids don't even know about September 11th.
Right.
They have no clue. They're like, what is that? Right. So I have to perspective and realize it no, they're just different. So, you have to change your expectations as a coach. And then when, and this is one thing that when we knew we were good is that Coach Brown didn't have to set the standard. He set the standard years ago, and then we took it to another level. And he just held us at that standard, So
yeah,
sense it's he set the precedent, but we set the standard, right? And what happened?
Held each other accountable, basically.
We held each other accountable. So if someone got out of line or doing something that wasn't part of, that did not meet our expectations, we would collectively put that guy in check. And that's one of the things is that kind of segue or kind of skip ahead a little bit.
Sure.
The crazy thing is that our national championship team was not our most talented team. The team before, when we went to the Rose Bowl, when we played Michigan.
With Michigan, yeah.
that was the most talented team that we had.
Mm.
But that mindset and that grit that we've nurtured and molded, it was the year after it really gelled, and we were like, yeah, you can't stop us. No one can.
No
right?
one
And
could.
But yeah, so shameless plug. Definitely check out 05 Longhorn Network.
Yeah, it is a great documentary. So let's back up, because I also want to get to, like I said, you played 10 years in the league, played at Texas. Since being retired, seems like you wear so many hats, whether it's real estate, finance, education, coaching, an entrepreneur, the music industry, all those things. So I want to get to all that in this conversation, but let's kind of go back to the beginning. You're a Dallas native, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And played your high school ball, Carter Cowboys. Tell us about that. Tell us about kind of just a quick synopsis of your upbringing, your high school ball, just before we kind of get into you being recruited to the University of Texas.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, Dallas, Texas native, from Oak Cliff, southwest part of Oak Cliff.
That's my hood. I know that. Hey, yeah, I know that song.
Yeah. So, excuse me, but I grew up, average household income. Mom and dad both prominent in my life. I was lucky to where I was fully rounded, right?
Yeah.
So I got to see both sides of the tracks, right?
Okay.
One side of the family, educators, scholars. No one on that side of the family with credentials less than a master's. All right. And then I had on the other side of the family, street life. Let's leave it at that. Right.
Yeah.
So why do I say that? I understood perspective. I understand human nature. I understand, the human spirit. And one thing that was common between everybody is just that, the compassion for others. Right. And so with that compassion, I got a lot of compassion for my family, encouraging me, literally etching into my mind and my brain that whatever you put your mind to, you can do it. And it became, you became very keystone or paramount in my life. And so, with that, I remember my mom wanted me to go to an arts and magnet school because I was pretty smart, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But I was like, no, but I want to play football, right? And so, you hear the stories about Carter High School.
Oh yeah.
You hear the echoes of these people going to the NFL,
right?
And I'm like, man, I want to be a part of that, right? And so I had to make a deal with my mom. I had to do some negotiating at early. I said, look, all right, Mom, I tell you what, I promise that I'll stay on the honor roll my entire time there. If you let me go to Carter High School. So she's like, all right, cool. I'm gonna hold you to it. Needless to say, I graduated 6th in my class. So,
let me ask you this. So there's a statistic, only 2% of high school athletes go on to play at the Division I level. Now, obviously, you weren't just a part of that 2%. I mean, you went to go on and play at the highest of the highest level, so that percentage for you was even a smaller margin. But just talking the transition from growing up to Division I athlete, was there a moment in time, whether it was Pee-wee, middle school, high school, on the field, off the field, where you had that moment of validation where you knew, okay, I'm in that 2%? Like anything like that?
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you this, me and my business partner, we kind of joke about this. Like, you don't ever want me to come in and speak about business, because business, how it's taught, is this, then this, then this, then this, then this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, I didn't know about my 2% until after I knew about my less than 1%. Now, what do I mean by that, right?
Okay.
I knew I was going to go to the NFL when I was in middle school.
Mm.
I didn't have a clue about college. I didn't even think about college. Like, college was not even on my mind, right? Because this is how my transition, it went from A to J to B to E to D to F.
Yeah.
It went all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So, so for me, I knew that I was going to play in the NFL, because I just made it's all about manifestation.
So even at that age, you were thinking that way about manifesting, because that's.
I didn't consciously know I manifested it, but it was in my heart at that point, and I just knew I was.
I got you.
It's kind of like it wasn't a thought in my mind that I was like, should I do this interview? Should I do this podcast? I was like, yeah, I'm doing it.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
You really have to think about it.
So let me ask you then on this. This is good. So what do you think that came from? Was it just a natural inner, just something that was there, or was maybe a culmination of experiences that sort of developed this self-belief that you had?
You know what? And this is the thing, is that's why I spoke on it, not necessarily here on this platform.
Yeah.
But I speak about it a lot of times. It's energy, right? Right. And it's the energy that was energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but can be easily transferred from one object to the next. Right. It's the energy from my family. It's that energy, it's that support system that's like, you can do whatever you want to, right? Right. And if you kind of get real deep into it, it's like, when you talk about mindset, it's your environment that leads to a certain exposure. That exposure creates a certain experience, and that experience creates a certain expectation, right? So with that being said, is that my environment is that I had a loving environment, regardless of my financial awareness or anything like that. Like, I had people that loved me. My environment was love, right? That exposed me to being able to see, that exposed me to what happiness, what joy was, right? My experiences was that, I can be able to have conversations and fruitful conversations with my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, cousins, and which led to me having a certain expectation of myself. Like, I have, knowing that I'm a high, I'm a person of, good moral compass. And so I've always transferred that energy into whatever I did and whatever I do. So with that being said, that little morsel of thought that came from, my dad, my mom saying you can do whatever you want, or you can be whatever you want to be, that transferred and grew into what it is now. It's all about the transfer energy.
What about when I hit that pothole that tries to throw me off course? Did you ever have any run-ins like that?
Absolutely.
So I
definitely ran into plenty of potholes. Prime example, right? Adversity. All right. My dad, so 2009, my dad passed away. All right. Now, rewind all the way back to middle school. Played middle school. I finally got to play football. Middle school football. Played, and my spirit got broke, and I quit. My dad looked at me. So I was like, my mom was like, if you want to quit, baby, it's fine. It's okay. It's okay. Right? Just like, mother would be, right? But my dad, I remember I was laying on the ground, dog tired, and my dad walked in the room and just looked at me. He had this look like total disappointment. And at that moment, that's when I felt so low. It was like, dang, I actually let him down. right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember he said, son, if you quit now, you're going to be quitting for the rest of your life. And I was like, damn, right? It hit me hard. Like I would prefer to have cardiac arrest than hear that come from my head. And I mean that wholeheartedly.
Absolutely.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
So now, fast forward back to now I'm in the NFL. My dad passes away. I remember I was with Buffalo, and we had to play, had to go to my dad's funeral. And I had to go to the funeral, and I remember the interim head coach, I won't speak his name, but you can
Google it.
So this guy because Dick Jerome was cool. I love Dick Jerome.
Yeah.
Dick Jerome was a great guy. Right. And this guy had no compassion and wanted me to come back and was more concerned about me coming back. So we had to play in Jacksonville versus because he needed me to be starting. Mm-hmm. I was playing starting tackle. And so he was more concerned about his precious football game than me losing my father. So I was just like in this, rock and hard place, right? So my mom, had definitely different conversations. So I decided to go back. And so after my dad's funeral, literally the dirt ain't even settled in the ground. I go back I fly straight to Jacksonville.
Okay.
Jacksonville, have this game. So we warming up. Right, how you warm up, you have your pregame stuff, and then you go back in, and then you come back out and play the game. Yeah. So we did the pregame warm up, come back in, and then I just literally just had a mental breakdown. I just started crying. Next thing you know, I was taking off my tape from my gloves. I said, I quit. I ain't playing no more. Like I was about to quit football forever, right? And this is faith right here. And when I didn't know it, I couldn't see it, but I knew it existed. All of a sudden, I heard a distinct voice, son, never quit. And this is, I'm looking around like, I heard it, right? And that's the crazy thing about faith is when faith appears and shows when you least expect it. And so my whole thing is that when faith reappeared, and guess what? I ended up paying 6 more years.
God, that I got goosebumps. That's it. Right. And you know what? Everything you were just saying reminds me of. Not that maybe we are taking them to church here for a few minutes, but it takes me back to a scripture, Galatians 6:9. Don't grow weary in well doing, for in due season you shall reap a harvest. And don't grow weary in well doing, being don't grow weary in your faith. For when you least expect it, or in due season, you'll reap a harvest. And I tell people all the time, like my interpretation of that harvest isn't just money, like we sometimes associate it with. I've always said it can be, and I'll gladly accept it if that's what the Lord wants to do. But sometimes it's money, sometimes it's moments, and then sometimes it's something spiritual that like you can't even explain. It's an encounter that you have, and I got chills right now. Like that story touched me, and then it takes me back to that verse. I really want to touch on this though, like getting kind of into your high school years, and then we'll just keep flowing like we did. But you were a part of the very first Army All-American teams, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And before you talk about that, I want to set the stage for people who may not realize this. And first off, before I even get into this, if you're listening right now or watching, wherever you're at in life, remember what Jay Scott just said. Like, first off, look back at what you've already rebounded from in your life and remind yourself that you're pretty good at getting up from things, and then don't lose faith. That's just like that. I want to say that if you're driving right now, you're on the treadmill, you're just sitting in a room, whatever you're doing, listening or watching this, just remember, don't lose faith. Due season, it's coming. But back to the Army All-American. That thing, the whole high school All-American just scene has turned into, it's blown up now today in 2022. There's the Under Armour All-American. There's still the Army All-American. There's like so many different avenues for that, and it's the top talent. But this was I mean, a huge deal. This was a national high school All-American team. You're playing Carter Cowboys. You get invited to be a part of the first ever Army All-American. I mean, that game has sustained itself for the last 22 years. It gets broadcasted on national TV. You don't even have to have like a cable box for it. I mean, it's on local TV. It is a huge deal going on 22 years, and you were one of the originals. Tell me about that.
You know, it's crazy. I remember the representatives that came there. You can tell they were passionate about it, but I knew that their pockets was very thin and very short, and so they was like, "Look, we got this idea. This is what we're doing. It's gonna be great. We want you. Yeah, like it's gonna be the best. Yeah." And it wasn't even called. It wasn't called Army. You know, the Army All-American.
Okay.
It was like. It was like Rick's Cabaret, something. I don't remember what it was called, but it was not. It was something else. It was definitely something. It was not Army Navy, Army All-American. But I can definitely say this: they, I can't remember those gentlemen's names, but they definitely reached out to the top guys, and some of the, it's crazy, like. Cedric Benson, like he turned it down because he just got finished winning another state championship.
Third, yeah,
yeah. So he was on Mount Everest.
Oh yeah,
he was on Mount Rushmore. But I remember Kevin Jones.
Oh yeah, Virginia Tech, right?
Yeah. I just had a brief conversation with him. He just got his master's in architecture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's doing good. He's doing some things with his alma mater. But long story short, it was so many different. I'm like, man, there's so many different people. What's my man who's on the podcast with Brandon Marshall, the linebacker, used to play for the Broncos.
Crowder, no, Von.
Oh God, what's it called? I Am Athlete.
It wasn't Von Miller or
Von Miller. He played with me, and he actually played with me. He played DJ.
Oh, yeah. DJ Williams. Yeah.
He was on there. Who else? Oh my God, there's so many. I have it listed, but to the point, it was a cool experience seeing like, dang, y'all want me to be on this national All-American thing? And I'm like, okay, cool. So, at the time, I'm like, thinking now with NIL and stuff like that. I'm
man.
Not claiming it, but it was cool because it's, you never necessarily, you probably don't, biblically, you don't want to necessarily seek approval from people. However, it was pretty satisfying to know that like people recognize you as a talent,
absolutely,
on a national level. Right?
Yes,
and so it was cool. And then I remember the practices because that was the funny part. It was when I talk about the arrogance. And the testosterone when everybody from all over the country is trying to say, like, no, I'm that dude. Yeah. Like, oh, my God. Oh, man. I remember it was the line. I think it was DJ was talking noise to Kevin Jones.
Okay.
And Kevin was just quiet. Like nothing. He was just. And Kevin went off. Like. Kevin was running folks over, spin moving, shaking folks, breaking ankles. And because I remember, De La Salle.
I was going to say, yeah.
It was, I was like, man, every day before practice, as we busting from the hotels to the practice field, it was so much to this. And I was like, somebody it's about to be a fight. Like, every day. And it was Texas versus Cali.
I bet, yeah.
East Coast versus West Coast, Florida. Like, it was. I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna just be cool and just chill and just sit right over here and be quiet.
Did that experience though? I mean, it had to have. Did that help kind of with the transition from high school to the University of Texas?
Oh
Kinda,
yeah, so competition. Yeah, like yeah, it was definitely it was a different tier of competition.
yes,
Because
yeah,
it's kind of like I always make this reference. It's like, all right, so everybody's like, what's the competition like? What's the difference when you transition from
right.
one level to the next? So if you go from high school to college, high school to college is like it's faster and it's like playing your high school rival
Mm,
every week,
mm,
right? Then when you transition from college to pro, it's like I say, it's like playing OU every week,
mm.
right? But the toughest part is that not only it's like playing OU every week, everybody's an All-American.
Right.
Everybody,
Yeah.
everybody.
Literally.
And so now you have to find that secret sauce, that Tom Brady secret sauce.
Right.
Like now you got to get into the mental aspect,
Mm,
right? And so now there's got to be a deep dive into understanding all the facets outside of the physical aspect
right.
of football. And then, I mean, kind of segue, that's when I learned how to watch film is looking, working with like Troy Polamalu. Like, I'm like, dude, he look at film totally different. Because I never was taught how to watch film.
Right.
It was just, all right, see what kind of defense they run, and that's it.
Yeah. Right.
But when I watched film with Troy, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's like he watched it totally different. So
it's like you truly had to become a student of the game. I mean,
no question. Like
to use that cliche.
yeah, and the crazy thing, it's not. It's so true. It's like I always make this reference. It's like football is life, but life is not necessarily football. Right. And what I mean by that is that every single thing that I've learned in football, I can actually apply it to life. Everything. Pick something. You can pick any topic.
Yeah. Business, finance, whatever. Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. Business, boom. NFL, that is a business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business, right? Pick something else. It doesn't matter, right? And so what happens is that kind of gets that that understanding of the game. Like I know this is one thing I can say with the utmost confidence. As long as I learn the skill set, I can run any company. I can run any company. Any company. I don't care if it's I challenged was a Jamie Dimon at J.P. Morgan. I can run that too. Like I learned all the nuances. Oh, I can run that.
Right.
I know what it takes to build a team. I know how to build. I know how to be able to help cultivate a culture and create a culture that's winning. I know how to draw. I know how to pull out the best in individuals. I know how to train. Right.
Yeah. It's kind of like you say, kind of in the coaching networks, where like a good coach could coach anything, right? Yeah. Because the X's and O's, you can learn that. If you've got the intangible abilities to lead and move people and unite people towards a common goal, like you can coach anything.
It's kind of like that movie.
I know. I was just thinking that. The Apple TV. No. Okay. No, I was thinking the one where the football coach goes to coach soccer.
Ted Lasso?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lasso. Anyways, go ahead.
But I was thinking like Ratatouille. Like the whole thing was everybody can cook. Anybody can cook.
Okay. Right? Yes.
Like it starts with a passion. And then at that point, it's just understanding the skill set. Like I gotta think my first encounter with playing football, I quit.
Right. Right.
Quit. And I was like, ooh, that's too hard. That's too tough.
Right.
That was my first adversity. I came out the gates getting knocked down.
Me too.
I made it to the NFL. So
Well, so let's kind of keep going here. So we've already talked about some of these players, but I want to make sure to gel it all together. The recruiting class that you came in with at Texas, Cedric Benson was in there. I mean, he's the Texas high school legend. Like you already alluded to, he won 3 straight. I think he scored 5 touchdowns in each of those games or something. And that was a record that I think got broke by the Alito running back. Jonathan Gray, maybe. I might have messed his name up, but no, anyways, he was the man. Derek Johnson, was he in your class?
Yep.
And then y'all were the top, weren't y'all the top 3 that sort of ushered that group in? And hey, I'm going to throw another name at you that I researched and noticed was a part of that class. See if you can verify or not. Okay. Was Kendall Briles in that recruiting class?
Man, yeah. KB.
Shout out KB.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say this. I was like, you kind of lightweight resemble KB, kind of KB swag, just a little bit.
Hey, I'll take it. Hey, so KB, if you ever hear this, you need to come get on this podcast because I am an Arkansas guy. Despite me interviewing a Texas guy right now, I'm a Razorback. But I followed KB from his time at Baylor to FAU. Now he's obviously in Fayetteville. We love him. I mean, Arkansas fans are crazy, so it's everything's polarized. But shoot, I'd keep him for the next 20 years if we could.
Was the truth. I remember when he played safety. He was on some Jason Sehorn.
Okay.
But he was nice. KB was nice. Yeah, I remember. You know what? This is what I was like. Okay, it was different because I come from a historic, predominantly black high school.
Right.
And when I saw KB, he was jamming to Outkast, and he was going saying it word for word, and I was just like. I was just like, okay, all right, KB, and he was, he just had, he was cool. He was swaggy.
Okay, yeah.
That's cool, man. That's
cool. So I had to throw Kendall at you. I had to throw KB out there, and look, I know there were plenty of other talented players in that class, but then of course the prime time that the name everyone knows, Vince Young. Was he the next year?
He was the
right after you. He didn't come in with you, did he?
No, he did not. No.
Okay, so he came in right after. Y'all just
left with me because I redshirted. He didn't.
Okay, yeah, and then I'm talking. Y'all went on a tear. I mean, I'm gonna say it this way. Y'all are the reason I don't like Texas football fans today. Because it's y'all's recruiting class and what y'all did on the field that now has Texas fans today acting like Dallas Cowboy fans, which I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan, so I'll be the first one to admit it. But every time I talk to a Longhorn fan, guess what they tell me? Oh, this is going to be the year we win it all. This is going to be the year. Oh, okay. Let's see if you can get bowl eligible. But it's because of y'all's group that instilled this false confidence that these Longhorn fans walk around with. So I blame your group and your class because back-to-back Rose Bowls, national champion. I think there were 3 straight NFL drafts that y'all produced multiple first-round picks, not even including the other guys that were drafted who went on to have productive 10-year careers such as yourself. That is insane. And so you go on a run like that, and then, of course, it creates an expectation in a fan base, and now it's kind of become what it is now. I know you were already talking about that in the beginning, but what was it like playing in Austin, down on what they call it, the 40 acres? What was that like?
It was great. It was absolutely great, man. I think that's one of I made some good decisions in my life, but that's one of the best decisions I made in my life. Absolutely zero regrets. Wouldn't change it for the world. It was cool because you know what? It's hard to compare because I never really experienced anything else like it. Why? You know what? It's kind of like this, right? Um, I don't regret it at all. But I never did take an official visit anywhere.
Oh, really?
Like, I got recruited from every
Yeah.
university in the country. And I do mean every.
Yeah.
Florida State, Miami, Ohio State, Michigan, Oklahoma.
Well, and let me just, for people that are, 16 years old right now, Florida and Florida State and Miami in the era he's talking about, they were the equivalent to what Bama is now. So like let's set that straight. Okay.
Absolutely. Steve Spurrier.
Yes. Bowden.
Oh my God. Bowden, they was the juggernauts.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the crazy thing for me was we were kind of like so what made me go to Texas, and I'll get into so what made me to go to Texas was the simple fact that it just felt right. It was that simple. It felt right. Right? Everybody wasn't trying to hustle me because I knew I was like every country in the world wanted me. Every country.
No, I got you. Every school.
Every school in the country wanted me.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew everybody had some angle. And it was just the energy that I had in Texas was right. And guess what? I was right. Came out with a W. Literally finished with W's. But with all that being said, to get back to your initial question, what was it like being on the acres? Every day was a good day. Like, because I can't remember the bad days.
Right.
I really cannot remember the bad days other than when we lost to OU and we had to roll as punishment for losing to OU. But other than that, man, everything was a smile, a laugh, a joke, something you could be like, man, remember that time?
Right.
Yeah. Now, I do have one memorable moment that is kind of morbid, right?
Okay.
So, can I tell the story?
Come on. Yes.
Yeah,
tell it.
So,
I want the full, uncut, uncensored. I want it all.
Yeah. So I remember I was a freshman, right? So I graduated. I won't tell that part, but I graduated from high school, of course, and then now I'm at Texas.
Right.
Right. Context clues, right? So I remember there's this practice that even though you redshirt, you still practice with everybody else, right? You're just not playing, right, in the game, right? So I remember we had, horn drill. So it's literally you got one person on this side and they line up and bah, and you battle it out and, you muscle it up, right?
Yeah.
So at this point, we got, oh man, so defensive line had Corey Redding.
Oh yeah.
Shoot, I mean, so many different names, but you had these big dogs. I am petrified to have to go against these dudes. Casey Hampton.
Yes.
Like, oh my God. Like, these guys strong. They actually got a picture of Casey Hampton picking a dude up with one arm. He played for A&M, and his feet were off the air. He picked up an offensive lineman. It's the craziest picture ever. You're like, how did he do that? And it's a perfect steal shot. If they remove that picture out of Moncrief Newhouse at Texas, shame on you guys.
Yes.
Hey, shame on you guys. That was the most intimidating picture. Yeah, it is straight beast mode. Like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, so I remember that this whole process, I gotta go. They gonna call my name out. They like, all right, Jonathan, and they called out Corey Redding. Well, I'm like, oh God, I am scared out of my mind, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh boy, I'm nervous, right? I'm still, okay, yeah, I'm scared. Ain't no point. I'm scared, right? So at this point, there's a little bit of pee coming down my leg, right? And then so at this point, I'm line up on it, all right. And then he's like, then all of a sudden the whistle blows, and it's like a long whistle. We're like, but practice can't be over. This is like, we only like 20 minutes into practice.
Yeah.
So Coach Brown calls everybody up, and he's at a loss. Coach Brown's at a loss for words. Coach Brown being at a loss of words is like, yeah, what's going on? Coach Brown tells us someone has flown into the Empire, into the Twin Towers. I believe our nation may be under attack. I don't have a lot of information right now, but right now I need everyone to go to the facility, call family, connect with them. We'll figure out next steps. Yeah. 9/11.
Yeah.
So that's why I said it's kind of morbid, but that's probably the most memorable part. Because I was so scared.
Yeah.
About to go against Corey Redding,
and then
all of a sudden, boom! There's something a little bit more important going on in the world.
Oh, and I would tell my students all the time, every year on 9/11, like, or anyone really, if you were alive on that day, anyone can tell you exactly what was happening the moment they got the news. I was sitting in biology class. I remember like it was yesterday. They turned on the TV right as that second, anyways. But man, what a time! And then, but to keep him,
But on a positive note, man, outside of that, this is one thing I can say. I'm not a fan of OTAs. No, OTAs ain't too bad. I'm not a fan of training camp. But I don't remember not being I don't remember not wanting to be at practice at Texas. Like every time it was offense versus defense. We're talking a lot of crap against each other. Yeah. We're like, we about to get y'all today. Yeah, we got this new play. Vince, show him, do your thing.
Yeah.
He's like, you going against like Rod Wright. He's like, oh yeah, you got me on that one. I got you on one-on-ones. Like it was that constant, Proverbs 27:17, iron sharpens iron, right? It was literally like us getting better, like, Tim Crowder, like Brian Robinson, like we would constantly battle. Brian Arakpo, it was a battle every practice. So when you get to college, you get to playing OU, you like, whatever.
Yeah,
Tommy Harris, he all right. And I tell Tommy this to this day. Tommy really wanted to go to Texas, but OU paid him to go. I'm gonna say it like that.
Oh man, I don't know anyone that wouldn't believe that. I mean, I'm just saying, not today.
I mean, I'm just saying because Tommy stayed at my house. He stayed at my house. He stayed at my house from after the what do you call it, the All-American game. He stayed at my house, at my parents' house, and he told me, yeah, you know what? Let's go to Texas. We're going to go to Texas. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, all right, Tommy Harris, John Scott, we both going, right? We're going to kill it. And then all of a sudden, I look at the paper, Tommy Harris commits to Oklahoma. Man, I called Tommy up. He ain't want to answer the phone. I was like, So now when I see Tommy, I'm like, yeah, you really want to go to Texas.
Remind him.
Yeah, so I really
he got him one, though, didn't he? Didn't he win? He got him one his freshman year, I think, or was he right after that?
I believe so.
The Bob Stoops championship. I don't know. I'd have to look. I should have that. Well, I mean, I've been saying it since NIL. I was like, NIL is just out in the open now. It's been happening under the table. It's just, we got a legal avenue for it. And we on our podcast, we're supportive of that. We're glad that the players are getting. There needs to be some regulation so it doesn't just completely become the wild, wild west, but we'll see.
Yeah, because what happens is not so much what happens is where the snakes lie. You don't know where the snakes are lying. Like, you don't know where they are until you start cutting the grass, right?
Right.
So that's what I'm more concerned about. So, just being taken advantage, these young guys being taken advantage.
Definitely for the kid. Yeah, bring in regulations that protect the kids, not that are, protecting the investors. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we can kind of get into, we've been kind of throughout this whole time, you've been hitting us with tidbits of the NFL. So there's really two key things I want to talk about from your NFL career, and then anything else within that you care to share. But the first thing is, no, I can't get to the NFL. I have to go back for a second. Okay. You played in arguably the greatest college football game ever played. And I say that with full conviction. I would put the USC Texas national championship game at the Rose Bowl up against any other game played in college football history. I mean, we just referenced 9/11, right? Like, there's something about those types of moments. That was a very, like you said, morbid. It was a very, very serious moment. But sports creates moments too, where as a fan, you remember exactly who you were with, exactly what you were doing when you were watching that game. Right. Texas USC game, I remember the two guys I was watching it with. I mean, and this was what? 17, 15, 7? I mean, I don't remember how many years ago, but I mean, I vividly remember. There's one other game I think someone could throw at it, but and probably more, but I'm saying that game was incredible. And I still stand by it. It had to be one of the greatest college football games when you take everything into effect. You take in the star power, you take in the pageantry, you take in the location, you take in what was at stake, and then how the game played out. I mean, speak about it.
Yeah, I remember. This is one thing I kind of mentioned it on the actual documentary too. Yeah, is going into that week, we were polarized by how much they didn't care about, we were not relevant to the mystique of Trojan football.
Right.
We were chopped liver.
Y'all didn't have a chance.
We didn't have a chance. And we were like, have y'all not seen what we doing over here? We just murdered these guys in the Big 12 championship. Murdered. Come on. And it was like that every week. Right? And so, and I remember, to your point, the pageantry and the fanfare of you seeing, Snoop and Will Ferrell and all these
McConaughey.
And what about us? Right?
Oh yeah, no, I got you. Yeah.
And so I remember we were playing. No, I remember it was I think it was just me, Selvin Young, and Albert Hardy. We were just sitting in the hotel room, relaxing between practices. Mm-hmm. And I remember it was a commercial or something, and we saw this commercial with Reggie Bush, and they were red carpeting an event, and it was damn, is this a Nike commercial? What is this, right? And we all had this look on our face them mother, we was pissed. And with all that being said, we took that. We was like, yeah, we're going to take it all in. Yeah, and we just going to show them what we're going to do. We show them what's up, right? And I remember going into that week of practice, when I say out of all my entire football career, from middle school all the way to professional, when I say I've never been a part of a team where we had a perfect week of practice, we had a perfect week of practice. That does never happen. And we were just on point.
Yeah.
No false starts, no holding, no penalties, no pass interference, no missed snaps, it was just we was just on it, right? Like, and you can just tell it, like, everybody was just locked in, right? So, like, going into that game, we knew it was going to be a tough game, but we knew we were going to win, right? And we just had faith in each other that, you know, guys were going to do their job, do your part, right? Whatever it takes, right? And it's funny, that whole whatever it takes, that was actually coined from like the 1990 or 91 Texas football team. And we just, you know, took it to the next level.
Ran with it, yeah.
So, yeah, and so that was our whole thing, whatever it takes. And we just knew, like, nah, y'all embarrassing us. Y'all talking like we trash. We like, nah, we ain't having it. And so, yeah.
From a fan's perspective, I just remember the hype leading into it. Texas didn't have a chance, but you felt like, I can't wait for this game. And a lot of times as a fan, when there's that much hype going into a game, what happens? It ends up being a blowout, or it ends up being like not living. I mean, I just can't think of a game that had that much hype, that much just power surrounding it, that lived up to every bit of it. I mean, if anything, it exceeded it even with how the game finished. I mean,
you know, it's crazy. It's like, so the game finished amazing, right?
Yep.
For me, my experience, and this is the crazy thing, is like, I would love for you to get different people's perspective and like what was going on in their moment, and just kind of create a whole collage of it. But for me, you know, as crazy as it sounds, you know, the most memorable part was that I got a chance to enjoy that moment, and me and my dad had a cigar. So when I saw Joe Burrow, when you smoking that cigar, I was like, bro, I know exactly how you feel. And so that was one of those that was the coolest moment, because I just remember it so vividly. Smoking a cigar inside a hotel in Beverly Hills, and nobody said nothing. I was like, oh, I'm on top of the world. I'm on top of the world, drinking 12-year-old scotch, smoking Cohiba.
Oh, man.
I was like, at that moment, that's when I felt like a man, because my dad was accepting me, and he was super proud. So I didn't go out and party or nothing. I just smoked a cigar with my dad, and that was it.
I mean, it's like, do you even need to follow that up with a party?
Yeah, and then the next day, I get ready to start training for the combine.
Well, let's talk about that. So, getting into your NFL career, the first thing I said two things. The first thing is your draft experience. Drafted in the 5th round by the Detroit Lions. That would have been a day 3 pick. So what was your expectation, and what kind of were your thoughts, emotions, or was it kind of like it kind of happened exactly how you thought it was going to happen, or did things go a little bit differently? I just love hearing people who have had the privilege, which it's a very small percentage, of having their name called in the NFL draft. What was that experience like? What the who, what, when, why, all of it?
So to be honest, I now appreciate it 100%. At the time, I felt, you know, this is my emotional feeling. I felt disrespected, right? You know, so back then it was just 2 days. Yeah, it was just 2 days.
Was it 2? Okay, 2 days.
Yeah, just like first, second, and third round was the first day. Yeah,
and then they did the rest day 2. Got you.
And so, you know, we had a little party at my house. I felt embarrassed. You know, I was told that I was going to go like second round, right?
Okay.
I tore my pec training going into it, and so I did like horrendous. And so I got bullied or peer pressured into performing at the combine, and I shouldn't have. Right?
Yeah.
So I only like rep like maybe like 15 on bench, but I tore my pec. But then once I got it better, I did it at Texas, like 26.
Right.
And they just kind of like just said, nah.
This number from the combine.
Yeah, so we'll get them for cheap. That's the business part of it. I understand it. We'll get them for cheap, right? So, so I get the call, right? And I had my, I definitely, had an apology with God. But I was not grateful.
I was gonna say, so in day 2, you're pissed off, basically. Yeah. Yeah.
But, and so I showed a lack of gratitude at that moment. So I see this number 313 number pop up, and it was Matt Millen.
Oh yeah,
Matt Millen with Detroit Lions, and he's like, yeah, something to the extent, not verbatim, but something to the extent like, hey man, we want you to come here. We think you're a great player, and I'm thinking like, this was the last team I thought that was going to pick me, because when I had my interview at the combine, I thought they freaking hated me. I thought they hated me. Like, I thought I bombed that interview. They loved it. I was like,
oh, okay.
Right? So I called a mentor of mine that played in the league, and actually Carter graduate.
Okay.
Greg Hill. I said, he played at Detroit. He's like, man, I know you probably disappointed, but man, this is probably the best opportunity, right? And so he gave me some not courage, but some insight of just like, man, take heed of this moment, man. You look at the roster, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
All right, cool. So I was like, all right, cool. I go into it with a positive mindset, right? So I go there, I'm just still trying to get over the fact, man, I'm in Detroit. Like, who cares? Like, the Lions, like, well, right? And with all that being said, despite, the lack of winning there, it was one of the most pivotal points of my career. One, we talk about adversity. I broke my hip my rookie year.
Oof.
It's the exact same injury that ended Bo Jackson's career.
I was just wondering. Wow.
Yeah, it's the exact same injury, like to the T.
Wow.
They were like, it was like medical science. It's like, oh my God, this is exactly the same one. Like, it broke the same way, everything. So in my mind, I'm like, done. 1 year, one and done.
Yeah.
So I guess I did make it to the NFL, right? But I was like, no, I want more, right? So, some different, and this is definitely something that I'm going to be putting into a new book, but like some very life-threatening things happened to me when I was at Detroit. Changed my whole perspective on what I needed to be doing. Long story short, I ended up playing 9 more years.
Wow.
So, but it was one of those moments that, like, me getting drafted in the 5th round with those guys was the best thing that happened to me, because it actually grew me.
Yeah.
It actually grew me. Yeah.
So 2 years Detroit, 2 years Buffalo, talked about some, experience in Buffalo. Then you get to Pittsburgh. And that's when, at least from a wins-losses standpoint, things
it turned around.
things really turned around. And then you're there with Coach Tomlin. I guess he was, he's a few years in, already had a Super Bowl under his belt, but he's still a young dude at that point, right? I mean, he had to have been late 30s, maybe just sniffing 40 at that point. But while you were there, you actually not only got to play in a Super Bowl, but you got to go play in a Super Bowl in your hometown, which was when the game was hosted at Jerry World. So talk about kind of just that Steelers experience, and then whether it was with Mike Tomlin, and then being able to play in a Super Bowl But not just Super Bowl, but then it being in your hometown. What all that was like.
So, you know, you get to talk about adversity, right? So the game before, or 2 weeks before, the AFC Championship, I broke my ribs.
Oh,
yeah, and I have to go and pat my back. Jason Taylor was the defensive end, you know, Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer.
Yep,
right?
yep.
Yeah, shut him down. He didn't do that. Just want to put that out there. And yeah, I said it. I said it. People out there, yeah, I said it. Yeah, go look at the film. So,
film don't lie.
So, but the whole purpose of saying that was that the adversity of breaking my ribs, and then going to, playing in the Super Bowl in Dallas, it was a freaking ice storm.
I know.
Right.
I remember.
And so it was just like, but I remember it was crazy. They had my picture on the side of like a 15-story building, and like, congratulations home. Like, I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, that's what's up. And then they had it planned. They had a parade planned, but it got canceled because of the snow, ice storm. But it was cool. Now, going into it, it was rather emotional because, my dad had already passed away. And so, like, I just manifested, this is about to be the best game of my life. Like, everybody like, oh, you nervous? I'm like, nah, I'm about to ball out. And so, and it actually was one of my best games in my entire career. We didn't come out with the victory, but at the end of the day, it was a heck of an accomplishment.
Absolutely.
Being able to play in my hometown, of course, it's been better to win in my hometown.
Sure.
But, that's just the competitor in me. But I am grateful for the opportunity because not a lot of people get that, and it's just you kind of look back. It's like, one, I got to go to a big college, got my degree, honor roll, dean's list, unanimous All-American, playing in the NFL, like, and then on top of that, not only playing in the NFL, but go to a Super Bowl, right? And so I was like, you know what? I'm very grateful for the opportunity because there's a lot of people that's in just that 1% of the 1% that don't even get to go to
do that. Right.
Yeah. So, but it was cool. It was a very memorable moment. As crazy as it sounds, right? It still didn't compare to the national championship, though. It was the national championship. It was personal. Oh, it was personal.
Yeah.
It was personal because it was like someone slapped us in our face and spit in our face. Like, we're not, Super Bowl is like, we're rightfully so should be.
Right.
And Green Bay rightfully so should be there. Let's prove it.
Yeah.
But it was just like blatant disrespect.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Should Texas even be in this game? Do they? I mean, I remember all of it.
Chance. Their offensive line is soft. I'm like, literally, their entire offensive line went to the NFL.
Yeah. What are we talking about here?
Come on, stop. Anyway. Yeah.
So, last kind of NFL-based question here. Who would you say was, I don't want to say who was your toughest matchup, but like, who was a matchup that you had in the league that like really earned your respect? As far as players, I'm talking who?
James Harrison.
Ooh.
James Harrison. Thank God I practiced against him. But when that actually helped build my confidence because when James preferred to like go against me on one-on-ones because I gave him bigger challenge.
A fight,
Yeah. And so he had respect for me, right? And of course, respected him. His game is ridiculous, and his work ethic is it's insane, right?
Yeah.
It's on like Thor type stuff.
Oh, I've seen some of the clips too of like how much he invests into his body each year, and just like, whew.
Yeah, and I picked up a lot of stuff from him because some of the acupuncture, chiropractic work, like we use the exact same people, and he's like, man, yeah, you need to come over here. This is what I do. I'm like, I'm doing what you're doing, and you know what? So I'll come back to your question.
No,
like,
go.
This is the one, like, people want to go here. How do you do it? How do you do it? I have no clue. That's the secret sauce. I have no clue. I don't know how. This is what I did. I said, if I want to be this, I'm gonna just keep looking at the person doing that. That's all I did. Like,
that's powerful too.
Yeah, like, I don't know how. Like, I didn't have any, special, skill set. I developed my skill set, but
sure.
Yeah, like, I didn't have no trainers. I didn't have, Mike Tomlin in my back pocket to teach me how to. No, none of that.
Right.
So what I did was, I'm like, I want to be that. So I looked at who are the best at doing that. So offensive lineman, I was looking at, Eric Williams, Jonathan Ogden, Tony Baselli, Willie Roaf. I just looked at those guys, right? And then I said, I'm just do what they do. All right, I like how he did this. All right, I'm gonna just do that. That's it. Just mimic the person in front of me. And then what happens is that as I'm going through my journey, someone sees like, oh, you got some skills. Let me hone it a little bit.
Right.
That's where all these different coaches and other players like, oh, do this. Oh yeah, that worked. I like that. That's it. Man,
but I think what you just said, though, I feel like reflects something that you referenced earlier on this episode, which is like everything you just said is a life principle. Because I think a lot of times, and even in my personal life, I've made some decisions here where I'm really taking some risks, but like I think we limit ourselves as humans because we're too busy trying to figure it out instead of just doing it and putting ourselves around people who have either already done it or are doing it as well, and just having faith that you're going to end up where you need to end up. And without making it about me, because that's not what this show is about, but like I've made some big time decisions here lately, and I don't know how it's all going to play out. But what I know is that I'm just getting around people that are doing where I'm trying to go. And as I'm continuing to get around them, or what's crazy is I'll just randomly reconnect with someone from years ago and be like, hey, what are you doing now? Oh, I'm doing. Oh, and then all of a sudden, boom, a relationship or an alignment is formed. And so I think that's so powerful, because I think if more people would just believe in themselves and believe in whatever that is in their heart that they believe their purpose to do, instead of trying to figure it all out, what the nuts and bolts, what the X's and O's, what about when this happens? What about when that happens? You could do the same thing with a podcast. Well, what about this and monetizing this and doing that and getting people? Just do it. Just take the first step and then go find some people that are doing it, get around them, and watch what happens. So I feel like that's very powerful. Something that you used in your playing career that I'd be willing to bet is now happening in your post-playing career, which is what I'd love for you to get into now, about transitioning from football into this world where it's like there's literally nothing you don't do. I'm sitting here looking like the music industry, a writer, written a book and writing a book, entrepreneurship, finance, financial advising, like, how do you wear all these hats? Like, just talk about everything you got going. And then also, this is where you can do all the shameless plugging that you need and want to do. And I'll make sure we get all the links put up and everything like that.
No. Okay. So what's the first question?
I was just going to say, transitioning from the NFL into like, well, I guess if you have anything on that transition, talk about that and then get into what you're actually doing.
What's the last part you said?
I said, and then get into what you're actually doing.
Okay, yeah. All right. So what happened? So for me, like, this kind of prefaces the whole thing. My dad used to always say, I just want to know, like my mom is important in my life as well. So I miss my dad a lot, but my dad was like heavily present in my football career, like heavily. He came to my practices. So one of the things that really kind of stood out to me when I was going into the NFL is that my dad said, son, when you make your little money, incorporate yourself. Like, damn, what do you mean? Right. And so he's like, my dad actually played in the NFL too, but when he retired, he working a corporate job and he hated it. Right. He absolutely hated it. That's why he loved like ditching work and coming to practice and watching me practice.
Right.
Like, he hated his job. Right. I mean, he worked for like Boeing. Yeah, he was like a project manager for Boeing. With all that being said, he was like lightly setting the foundation of entrepreneurship, right? Because at the end of the day, I mean, Sam Walton is an entrepreneur, but we don't see him like that. Like,
right.
He came up with an idea, providing goods and services for people, and now look at it. Look at Walmart. Yeah. So my whole thing is why I can't do that. I did it in football. I just followed that guy and did it. It worked. So ain't no different. Life. Football is life, but life is not necessarily football, right? But anyway, so what happened is that I have all these skill sets. So it's this quote, and I know I'm butchering it, but there's that misconception of like jack of all trades, but master of none. But it is really the actual original saying to it, and I know I'm butchering it, but it's like the jack of all trades is better than being a master of none. All right. So with that being said, it's like, yes, like I have these different skill sets, but like I'm multifaceted. Like you look at a diamond, you look at, it has different facets. So it shines light in different directions and it creates brilliance. And so my whole thing is that I look at myself as a diamond or a multifaceted jewel, and so I let in good light. I'm gonna refract out good light. And so my whole thing is that I have different things that I that I embark in. But again, football, like I'm not the quarterback and the receiver. I'm just an offensive lineman. Or if I'm just a coach. But a coach knows how to get their offensive lineman, get their running back, get their quarterback, get their receiver, get their offensive coordinator. They know how to build a team. So it's the same thing with this. Like with the book. Like I'm not a marketing person. Like I know what I don't know.
Right.
And so like that's not my thing. Right. I know what to inspect what I expect, but that doesn't necessarily make me a authority in it, right? But with that being said, like how I got into real estate, it's money. It's something that's gonna always increase in value.
Yeah.
Right. It may take more time, but it's a finite amount of it.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that as I'm going through my whole journey, like I fell into coaching because Coach Tomlin was saying you need to be a coach. I'm like, what? I'm looking like, why? Right? Because he's like, you have influence. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what? And so, and when I recognize what my purpose is, I use teaching and business to educate people. Right? And at the end of the day, it's like, my whole purpose is to plant seeds. It's not for me to grow it. It's not for me to harvest it. It's just to plant it. Right. And then if they ask the right question, then I, upon myself and just my compassion, It's like, oh, let me give you some sunshine. Let me give you a little nutrients.
Mm.
But if I give you some, like if I say I give you some $1 million game, and you don't take it, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt my feelings because I did my job.
Mm.
Just like an offensive lineman. Look, I blocked that 3 technique. He dropped the ball. Ain't nothing I can do. Right?
Right. Yeah.
So it is what it is. So it's kind of that same thing. That's how I got into business, because I wanted to incorporate myself. I want to have sustainability, and which got into, just kind of led into this book that I co-wrote, is, just the winning playbook.
Winning playbook.
Being able to be in the driver's seat of your own financial, your own financial journey, right? And so many different components that go into it. It ain't just making money,
right?
One of the biggest things we talk about is it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep, right? Everyone talks about keep making money, but if you keep money and redistribute that money to where it makes more money than what you're, as a breadwinner, next thing you know, your pot of money becomes the breadwinner instead of you, the individual. Because, most NFL players, you got to go out there on that field,
right?
You're the breadwinner and get the check.
Mm-hmm.
But now, if you had $100,000, instead of giving $40,000 of it to the IRS, right? What if you put $100,000 and let the $100,000 make money? Now you can live off that $100,000, and guess what? The breadwinner is the $100,000 instead of you going on the field and having to break your neck.
Right.
But I get into all that. And like
it sounds like you're practically coaching people on how to actually get their money working for them instead of working for their money.
Exactly, because you got to think, if this was a spectrum for average individual starting their job at 25 and retiring at 70, this is the span of an NFL guy.
Right.
That's how much they make. So if you spread that out over, your typical 40-year career,
right,
the same amount of money. So, yeah. But guess what? Things now you can be able. So if you can be able to allow your money to compound over a larger amount over a shorter period of time. So when you're done playing football, your money is the breadwinner. So guess what? You can still live a lifestyle of, you can go buy that Mercedes.
Right.
Yeah, you can go get that, piece of jewelry. Yeah, you got a $10,000 budget every month.
And anything you decide is to want to do after is like icing on the cake, basically.
It's like icing on the cake. And guess what? Now you're learning, you're growing your skill set. Now you can be able to step into different arenas to where now, hey, now I'm getting into banking, right? Now I can use lines of credit. Instead of using my money, I use someone else's money. They charge me 3%, but I'm making 15 over here.
Right.
So the arbitrage is all profit. Pay back the loan. Guess what? Now I got a bigger asset, and now I can get a bigger line of credit. And you just rinse, wash, and repeat. It's called infinite banking, right? So now, if you look, so my whole thing is that I keep saying the same thing, right? I look at the people in front of me, right? I look at how Jerry Jones moves. I ain't talking about the Cowboys. I'm talking about
the money,
the business, like his business. He bought a piece of land not too far from where I live, sat on it, flipped it, put it into something else, and next thing you know, banks say, "Hey, you can leverage my asset. Now my asset is worth $300 million. Well, you know what? We'll give you $100 million line of credit. Oh, great. I just need that $100 million. I'm going to take that over here. I'm going to flip that, turn that into $500 million. And then I'm going to
pay you back your money. And
then I'm going to pay you back your money. And I got a discounted rate, but I'm giving you 3%. I'm making 10%. I just made 7% on my money. And guess what? I never used my money. And guess what? I still own my project. I still own my assets. Yeah, like, do you really think a billionaire likes to use their own money?
Nope.
Like, look at that AT&T Stadium. Like, I would put on my soul, there's no way in the world that Jerry Jones paid full freight for that stadium. Yeah, because I can tell you this, the income to, and like I said, I can get deep into it, but think about this. It's like, it's the city of Arlington that has to take a big chunk of that. All right. You get, the population of, I don't know, 200,000, 300,000 people increase in their taxes 1%. That pays for that stadium to be there.
Right? Yeah, to say that handles at least a huge chunk of it.
Right? And then on top of that, he's got 30 years to pay it off. Trust me, he's probably made his money back by now. Mm-hmm. And so he's just slow playing it out.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Like, I just recently bought a vehicle, and I got 0% down, 0% financing. Why would I give him all the money right now? I'll just give it to you every month. Yeah. Yeah. And that whole time, instead of that money sitting in your bank account, I'm gonna put it over here and let it make money. Mm-hmm. Yeah, put it in, get in, educate yourself on crypto and all those different things. Like, get into it, learn it. Yeah.
Do you have any resources like that if someone listening wanted to dive deeper into it, like that you are part of? Obviously, your book, is it out now? Like, they can go.
You can pre-order it now.
Okay.
Pre-order it on Amazon. Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. It's a bunch of different links. But
if you're watching on YouTube, I'll put them all. The links, if you're watching right now, are all in the description.
Yeah. It's literally Your Winning Playbook.
Your Winning Playbook.
Yeah.
YourWinningPlaybook.com.
Yeah. YourWinningPlaybook.com. You can go on there, all the information, speaking engagements, anything, to buy the book, whatever, brief synopsis, a little video here and there. It's got everything. It's real simple. You can look at, it's mobile friendly. It's pretty much the nucleus of everything. So,
and how can people connect with you if they wanted to just?
Yeah, so you can go and on there too is inquiries and stuff like that. So, boom, you shoot an email, contact us, and we'll get right to you. We'll have whole team to be able. We got a whole team. I got a whole team that are professionals who are experts at it. But it's really that simple. Go into your winning playbook, go to contact, boom. You'll notify us and whatever, speaking engagements, TED Talks, whatever.
Whatever it is. So is that a best bet than like trying to find you on social media, just going straight yourwinningplaybook.com and using that as a wins?
It's probably the best because of my time availability. I know that's the best way to get at.
I just make sure people know if you're listening, you're watching Your Winning Playbook. If you want to, or if you just want to send them some love from this episode, man, hit them up. Okay. Go to yourwinningplaybook.com.
Make sure what they say to get the algorithm up. Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Thumbs
you know
up.
what I'm saying? Okay. Well, anything else? This episode was just straight fire. A lot of golden nuggets, a lot of great content. I'm encouraging everyone, listen to this full thing. Obviously, if you're at this point, you did, but I'm going to be telling people, listen to it in segments if they need to. Get on that cardio bike, get on that treadmill, get in the weight room, on a long drive to work. This you will definitely learn some things, hear some great stories. And Jay Scott, I very much appreciate your time and your wisdom and just the depth of what you were willing to share and talk about on this. So much beyond football. And that's what our whole platform is meant to be about. It's, we want to hear the stories. We want to get behind the scenes on that stuff, but we want to hear who people are and how much their experience has impacted them to be able to impact others. And that's kind of what we're trying to build with the Blue Bloods podcast. And obviously, if you've been a listener, check us out at collegegametime.com. Maybe you're listening to this because you're a fan of Jonathan Scott and you have no idea who we are. Go check us out at collegegametime.com. We put all kinds of content up, written, podcast, videos, you name it. We're just building this thing from the ground up. So if there's nothing else, we'll see y'all next time.
Well, man, Trey, I truly appreciate the time, just allowing me to speak, tell my story and give insight. So again, I manifest nothing but success and greatness for you and what you got going on. We've got connected through a spiritual leader. So
yes,
in the spirit of that, man, best of best and the best of best.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you very much.